The story begins with a little girl named Jin-hee. She's full of love, especially for her father. Today is special for Jin-hee. Early in the morning, her dad takes her out on his bicycle. He buys her new clothes, shiny shoes, and even takes her to a restaurant. Jin-hee's face lights up with pure joy, her happiness radiating through every smile. Later that night, she rests her head on his back as they ride home, her tiny arms wrapped around him, her heart full and safe. She falls asleep beside him that night, unaware that her life is about to change forever. The next morning, she's on a bus with her father, still wearing the clothes he bought her just the day before. They arrive at a bakery. He buys her favorite cake. She doesn't understand why, but her father's voice seems different. He gently says, "Be kind to others. Listen to the adults." She tilts her head in confusion. Why would he say something like that? They walk through a large iron gate. Behind it, many children playing. A nun comes to greet them. She smiles, but Jin-hee senses something is wrong. Her father hands her over quietly. Then he walks away, just like that. Jin-hee doesn't realize it yet, but she has just been left in an orphanage. Her eyes search for him as she's taken inside. He turns back just once and takes a long, heartbreaking look at his daughter before walking away. For good. Inside the orphanage, Jin-hee finds herself surrounded by a group of curious children. They crowd around her, asking questions like, "What's your name?" and "How old are you?" But Jin-hee remains completely silent. She doesn't answer. She's frozen in place, too shocked and overwhelmed to speak. Suddenly, a memory flashes in her mind. She remembers the cake her father bought for her. Without thinking, she bolts outside, running as fast as she can. But it's too late. All she can see is her father's back as he disappears down the road. He's already gone. Jin-hee's tiny heart shatters in that moment. But strangely, she doesn't cry. Not yet. Later, the caretaker named Maria takes the cake Jin-hee's father had given her and shares it with the other children. It was Jin-hee's favorite cake, something that once brought her happiness. But now, she doesn't take even a single bite. She still believes her father will come back. She tells Maria with childlike certainty, "He'll be here soon." But Maria, though kind, gently tells her the painful truth. Your father isn't coming back. Afterward, Maria asks Jin-hee to change out of her new clothes, but Jin-hee refuses. Instead, she runs outside and hides in a bush near the building, clinging to the last bit of hope. A girl named Suki comes looking for her, followed by two sisters. But Jin-hee doesn't move. She won't come out. So Maria tells her, "There's cake in the kitchen. When you get hungry, you can come get it." Everyone leaves. Jin-hee stays in the bush, waiting for her father to return. But he never comes. Eventually, night falls. The air grows cold and Jin-hee's stomach begins to ache with hunger. She walks quietly to the kitchen. But when she looks at the plate, someone has already eaten part of her cake. Her stomach aches even more, and so does her heart. Too tired to cry, she falls asleep right there. Later, Maria finds her curled up on the floor. With gentle care, she picks Jin-hee up and lays her down beside the other children. In the middle of the night, Jin-hee suddenly wakes up from her sleep. She notices a small group of girls huddled together in a corner of the room. They're whispering softly, laughing quietly, and playing with tarot cards. The girls explain that these cards have the power to reveal the past, the present, and even the future. As they continue playing, one of the tarot cards reveals that a guest is coming. A little girl giggles excitedly and says, "Yes, the new girl arrived today." And just like that, Jin-hee finds herself drawn into this strange and unfamiliar world, not because she wants to be, but because fate has left her with no other choice. The oldest girl among them, Yashin, looks at Jin-hee and says, "She's not a guest. She's one of us now. She's here to stay." Jin-hee hears this quietly. Her little heart sinks. She doesn't speak, but tears begin to roll down her cheeks. She cries, silently. The next morning, everyone is having breakfast, but Jin-hee doesn't touch her food. When Maria gently urges her to eat, Jin-hee snaps. She throws the bowl across the floor. The room goes silent. Maria calmly says, "Pick it up." But Jin-hee just sits there, still, like stone. That's when Suki kneels down and wipes the floor herself. She looks up and says, "This isn't your house, so don't act like it is." Later, Jin-hee goes to the director's office. She demands, "I want to call my father," but the director sighs. They don't have his number or address. Jin-hee says, "This is a place for orphans, but I'm not an orphan. My dad bought me these clothes. He took me on a trip. Now give them back. I'm leaving." The director gently asks, "And where will you go?" Jin-hee doesn't answer. She walks straight out of the office. She climbs up the gate, then starts scaling the wall. The other kids yell for her to come down. She doesn't listen. Suki, worried, climbs up after her, trying to stop her from going any further. But despite her efforts, she can't manage to reach Jin-hee or bring her down. Then, Maria appears. She walks up to the gate, unlocks it, and calmly says, "Go ahead. You're free to leave." And just like that, she walks away. The other children follow her inside, leaving Jin-hee alone. Jin-hee pauses for a moment. Her hands begin to tremble, and slowly, she climbs back down from the wall. She walks a little way down the street, uncertain and scared. But after a few steps, she stops. She looks around, confused and lost. She doesn't know where to go, because the truth is, she has nowhere to go. What Jin-hee doesn't realize is that Maria had left her alone on purpose. She's been doing this for years, and she knows children like Jin-hee very well. She understands that even if a child screams that they want to leave, they never really mean it deep down. They never actually do. That night, hungry and quiet, Jin-hee sneaks into the kitchen. The rice pot is nearly empty, but she scrapes what's left, the crispy bits stuck at the bottom, and eats it slowly, in silence. Later, she goes to the bathroom and finds Suki washing clothes, stained red. Jin-hee says nothing, but quickly retreats to her room. Inside, the girls are sitting around again, reading tarot cards. Yashin pulls a card, a love card. She blushes. The others giggle and whisper, "That means Jong-soo will come tomorrow." Jong-soo, the vegetable seller's son. Yashin likes him, but she's never said it out loud. Yashin is older than the others, and she has a bad leg. She walks with a limp. Maybe that's why no family has ever come for her. Before bed, Suki whispers, "Don't tell anyone about the bloody clothes." Jin-hee nods. The next morning, all the children put on their best clothes. It's a special day. They're going to church. On the way there, Yashin suddenly spots Jong-soo in the distance. The moment she sees him, her eyes light up with joy. After church, they all return to the orphanage. There, Maria takes a pair of scissors and carefully cuts Jin-hee's hair. Later that day, the children are taken to the hospital. Each one of them receives a complete medical checkup. They're measured for height, weighed, checked for vision. Even their blood is drawn for tests. Nothing is left out. The doctor kneels beside Jin-hee and asks, "Do you know why you were brought to the orphanage?" Jin-hee looks down. Then she whispers, "Maybe, because of my stepbrother." Her voice trembles. After her mom passed away, she lived with her father and grandmother. Then one day, her father remarried. Her stepmother came, and soon, a baby brother. Jin-hee says she was holding the baby one day, playing with him in another room, when the safety pin on her dress pricked him by accident. A tiny wound, but her stepmother said it wasn't an accident. She accused Jin-hee of trying to hurt the baby, said she wanted to kill him. Maybe that's why her father brought her here. As Jin-hee says these words, tears fall. She tries to stay strong, but the pain is too heavy for her small heart. One day, Jin-hee and Suki find a bird. Its wing is broken. It's lying helpless on the ground. They know if they leave it, it'll die. So they take it back with them, carefully, lovingly. Jin-hee finally asks Suki, "Why were there bloodstains on your clothes that day?" Suki replies softly, "Because I started my period." Jin-hee tilts her head. "Why is that a secret?" Suki answers, "Because when families come to adopt, they don't want girls who've started their periods. They think we're already grown up, so we hide it." Jin-hee and Suki couldn't bear to leave the injured bird outside. It was cold, weak, and starving. So late that night, they snuck into the kitchen, hoping to steal some food. But there, unexpectedly, they found Yashin crying alone in a corner. A middle-aged couple had come to adopt her, but she didn't want to go. She told Maria, "They don't want me as a daughter, they just want someone to clean and cook." Maria tried to reason with her. "You should be grateful, Yashin. Even with your leg and your age, they still want to adopt you." But Yashin couldn't hold back her tears. She turned away and walked off quietly. Suki grabbed some scraps of food from the kitchen and fed it to the bird. Then, gently, she placed it inside a small box lined with cloth. It would be safe there, at least for now. The next day, the orphanage held a performance. A cheerful show was arranged for the children. There was music, clapping, laughter, and for the first time in a long while, Jin-hee smiled. She was slowly beginning to adjust. She had found a friend. She had found Suki. That night, the two girls returned to the kitchen again. While quietly eating pancakes, Suki said, "You know, in America, you can eat pancakes every day." Jin-hee looked down at her plate and said, "I don't care. I'm not going anywhere. My father's coming to take me home." Suki smiled, bittersweet. "I've never even seen my father. My mom never told me where he lives. She left me with my aunt and disappeared. Even my aunt wouldn't say where she went." Then Suki paused, remembering something. "One day, my aunt took me to a fortune teller. The woman said I'd have a good life, abroad. That's why I practice English. So maybe one day, a foreign family will choose me." In truth, all the children in the orphanage waited like thirsty birds, longing for a home, for someone to choose them, but none of them knew how long they'd have to wait. Later that day, an American couple visited the orphanage. They were looking to adopt. The moment Suki saw them, she rushed forward with excitement. Her heart raced with hope. Meanwhile, near the gate, Jong-soo approached Jin-hee. "Where's Yashin?" he asked. Jin-hee replied, "She went outside." Jong-soo handed her a folded piece of paper. "Please, give this to her." Soon after, all the children were gathered in one room. The American couple was meeting each child, asking their names and ages. One by one, the children responded, some shy, some eager. When it was Suki's turn, she didn't just give her name. She spoke with a bright smile, sharing her favorite hobbies, what she liked to study, and even ended with a polite, "Thank you." The couple was impressed. Then they turned to Jin-hee. "What's your name?" But Jin-hee didn't respond. She didn't want to go with them. She didn't want to be adopted. Her heart still belonged to someone who had already left her behind. That night, Yashin returned. The kids smiled at her knowingly. They said nothing, but their eyes gave everything away. Confused, Yashin looked around. Then Suki handed her the letter and said with a grin, "Your lover sent this." Yashin's face lit up. She rushed downstairs to read the letter in private, but as her eyes scanned the words, her smile faded, her hands trembled, her heart sank. Whatever Jong-soo had written, it broke her. The other girls didn't ask. They already knew. The next day, it rained. Jin-hee and Suki ran up to the roof to check on the bird. It was drenched, barely moving. They quickly brought it inside, dried it gently, and placed it carefully in a cupboard to keep it warm. Later that evening, Yashin returned to the room. She was quiet and withdrawn. She hadn't been eating. She hadn't spoken a word to anyone. Maria noticed and asked softly, "Why are you so quiet today?" But Yashin said nothing. The next morning, the bird that Jin-hee and Suki had cared for was gone. It had died quietly during the night. The girls buried it gently, beneath a small bush. Their hands pressed the dirt, their hearts heavy. It was just a tiny bird, but to them, it meant something more. While the children went about their day, Yashin tried to take her own life. She had reached her breaking point, but Maria found her, just in time. Without hesitation, she lifted the unconscious girl onto her back and ran toward the orphanage gate. At that very moment, the American couple returned. They had come to talk to Jin-hee and Suki again, curious to learn more about them. Suki smiled warmly and shared all kinds of things. What she liked to do, what books she was reading, what her favorite meals were. But Jin-hee stayed silent, not a single word. Outside, Suki gently asked, "Why didn't you say anything?" Jin-hee looked away and answered, "Because I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here." Suki thought for a moment, then said, "They called both of us because they like us. If I go, would you come with me?" Jin-hee's eyes softened. Their bond had grown deep. stronger than either of them had expected. "Can we really both go?" she asked, hesitant but hopeful. Suki nodded. "I'll ask them, I promise." And right there, under the gray sky and falling leaves, the two girls made a promise to go together. The next day, Yashin returned from the hospital. Standing in front of all the children, she was asked to apologize. With quiet dignity, she said, "I will never do something so wrong again. I won't waste the precious life that the Almighty has given me." But the other children didn't fully grasp the weight of her words. They burst into laughter. And Yashin? She laughed along with them. A soft, tired laugh. The kind that masks a heart still healing. Just a day later, an elderly couple came to adopt Yashin. Her moment had finally come. As she walked away from the orphanage, her eyes scanned the crowd, looking for someone, looking for Maria, but she wasn't there. The truth was, Maria couldn't bring herself to leave. She had stayed behind, tears streaming down her face. Maria had been a part of this orphanage for so many years. She had watched countless children come and go. But Yashin was different. She had stayed. They had grown together, like mother and daughter. And now, that daughter was leaving. The pain was too much for Maria to bear. So instead of watching her go, Maria turned her back to the door. She picked up a rag and began dusting the beds, furiously. Not because she wanted to clean, but to cope. To hold back the flood of emotions inside her. Outside, Jin-hee sat alone. Suki had gone out with the American couple. When Suki returned, she practiced a single English phrase over and over. "See you tomorrow." Jin-hee asked, "What does that mean?" Suki smiled and explained, "It means, we'll meet again tomorrow." Jin-hee's voice trembled. "You're going again? Tomorrow?" Suki nodded. "Yes, for my English class." Then she added, "I forgot to ask today, but tomorrow I'll definitely ask if we can go together." To make sure they could, Suki began teaching Jin-hee English too. The next afternoon, Jin-hee waited eagerly, sitting in silence, eyes fixed on the orphanage gate, waiting for Suki to return, waiting for good news. But instead, a sister came over and softly said, "Suki's not coming back today. She's staying with the couple tonight." Jin-hee's heart shattered, her only friend, gone. The next morning, Suki finally returned. She walked up to Jin-hee, her voice heavy with guilt. "I'm so sorry. I'm leaving today, with the couple." But Jin-hee didn't even turn to look at her. Not a glance. She just stood there, frozen and silent. Her face said everything her voice couldn't, because sometimes, the deepest heartbreaks make no sound at all. Everyone gathered once again in the courtyard. As Suki stood at the gate, ready to leave, all the children sang the farewell song for her, a song of both joy and heartbreak. She was going to start a new life. Jin-hee was alone again, utterly, painfully alone. She couldn't bear it anymore. She ran to the director's office, her voice trembling. "Please, let me call my father. I don't want to stay here anymore. Here's my home address. Please, please bring him to me." The director nodded softly. "We'll try." The next day, toys were brought in for the children. The others were excited, laughing, playing. But not Jin-hee. She grabbed a doll and hurled it across the floor in anger. When another girl picked it up, Jin-hee snatched it back and tore it into pieces. She was frustrated, shattered, exploding inside from all the pain. Maria quietly pulled her aside. She handed her a stick and said gently, "Here, let it out, hit the bed, scream if you have to, just let it out." Jin-hee struck the bed again and again, each hit echoing with rage, grief, betrayal. Later that day, the director called her in again. He spoke softly. "We went to the address you gave us, but your family doesn't live there anymore. Another family lives there now." And in that moment, Jin-hee broke. Her last hope was gone. Her heart shattered beyond repair. She ran outside, tears blurring her vision, and rushed to the small grave where she and Suki had buried the bird. She began digging, furiously, as if trying to unearth her own sorrow. The next day was Sunday, church day, but Jin-hee pretended to be sick so she could stay behind while everyone else left the orphanage. Then she ran outside again, back to the bird's grave. This time she dug a deeper hole, bigger and wider, a grave big enough for herself. And when it was ready, She laid down inside it and slowly began covering herself with dirt. Maybe, she thought, if she buried herself like the bird, she could disappear too, erase herself from the world. But death doesn't come that easily. As the dirt made it harder to breathe, her body kicked into survival. She clawed her way out, gasping, crying, and shaking. From that day forward, Jin-hee changed. She became quiet. Sometime later, the director came to her with news. A couple from abroad wanted to adopt her. This time, Jin-hee said yes. While Maria was sewing clothes for her departure, she asked, "Will you sing me something?" And so Jin-hee began to sing, in a soft, steady voice, filled with all the love she had kept locked inside. "You'll never know how much I loved you. And when time has passed, you'll regret it. But if you ever feel lonely, if you ever feel sad, just call my name. I'll be there by your side. I'll be there to wipe away all your pain." Maria listened quietly and understood exactly who Jin-hee was singing for. Then came the day. The day Jin-hee would leave the orphanage for good. Everyone gathered for a group photo, and for the first time ever, Jin-hee smiled. A real, radiant smile. The kind of smile she hadn't shown since the day she rode on her father's bicycle, her head resting peacefully against his back. She was no longer the angry, stubborn little girl who tried to bury herself in grief. She was beginning again. The farewell song played one last time, but this time, Jin-hee didn't cry. She walked away with a heart full of hope, ready to begin a brand new life. She hadn't met her new parents yet. They hadn't arrived in Korea. So she boarded the flight with another couple, her tiny hands gripping the seat, her eyes staring out the window. As the plane soared into the sky, her mind drifted back to that quiet evening on the back of her father's bicycle. That was the last time she had truly felt safe, truly loved. But now she was changing. Now Jin-hee was someone new. At the airport, her eyes scanned the crowd nervously, searching for the faces of her new parents. And in that very moment, they too were looking eagerly, searching for the face of their new daughter. Two strangers about to become a family. And this is where their brand new life begins.